Welcome to the Granite Zero podcast. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem at all. Like I saw, obviously we got the mutual connection with Rock to Recovery. I saw a few bits on your Instagram, and I was like, "Fuck it, he's got to come on the show. We got to have a little chat."
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much.
Look at you doing a podcast in the gym as well.
I
Home gym,
know.
is it?
Yeah. So I'm a coach and luckily enough to work from here.
Fucking living the dream. That is like the definition of living the dream.
Not bad. Is it? Next thing you know, I'll be hopefully getting another one of these and having a little podcast myself.
Oh, there we go.
Then I'll be living a dream.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking proper 12 at the minute.
Nice.
It's not too bad, considering a lot of people gave it some shit. They were like, well, it's Conor McGregor's, it's not going to be any good.
Yeah.
It's actually not too bad. It's not too harsh. It's not too
Yeah.
weak. It's all right.
Nice. That's exactly
Yeah.
what you need.
I like to have a cheeky little whiskey when I'm in the podcast, in the shedio as it's known. The trouble
Brilliant.
is if we get on too much of a good like wavelength, and then you end up doing Joe Rogan style podcast, which is like 3 hours long. And then you
Naturally
lose the
get
whiskey,
thirsty
and
and then you
yeah, then you walk in the house, and the missus is like, "Where the fuck have you been for the last 3 hours?" You're like, "Well, living the
definitely,
dream."
definitely.
So
Uh,
how did you get into doing Ironman then? Just
So literally, years and years ago, I've been doing this sort of career and getting into it from when I first started for about 15 years now.
yeah.
Um, Started around when I was 20, and I'm 35 now. Um, but literally, so the Ironman Wales celebrated. It had 2 years off because of COVID, and celebrated its 10th birthday last year. So what, roughly 30? Well, yeah, roughly 30, 12 years ago, right? Um, I saw it because I have family down West Wales. I
Yeah.
was popping down there in the September to see my family, and we were meeting inside Tenby for a coffee. Didn't know Ironman was on. Didn't know anything about triathlon. Didn't even know triathlon existed. Wasn't on my radar whatsoever. At the same time, I hadn't long started university. Um, I was being asked by my lecturer, not particularly myself, but like the lecture hall, was like, right, what type of coach do you want to be? Do you want to be the coach that kind of walks the walk and practices what he preaches, or do you want to be the one who talks the talk? And for me, it kind of hit home a lot because I was going through this transition from the old me that was had this victim's mentality, kind of grew up with childhood trauma and was just um, not reaching my full potential
Got you.
to
Yeah.
me becoming a father and needing to be more than I was. And so I had this going on in my head personally. I was working at the gym, in a gym at the time, and I had randomly this guy came up to me and was like, "Listen, mate, I'm doing Cardiff Triathlon next year, and I need a program. Can you help me?" And I said to him, I was like, "Listen, mate, I haven't got a clue about triathlon, but if you give me 2 weeks, I'll buy some books and I'll do some research and I'll write you a plan." So he was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, I'll give you 2 weeks." So that happens. My lecture happens. Me and my headspace where it was, and then I happened to pop down Tenby, and Ironman Wales was on. I kind of walked up the hill into the town to meet my family, and they were on the marathon stage of it.
Oh yeah.
And sounds awful, but like these two people were in front of me. This guy, now I'm 6'5". This guy was towering
Jesus.
over me, and he was built like a brick shithouse, right? And he's there in this like kind of tight tri-suit running there like this bear of a man, and you had this tiny, tiny, frail old lady right behind him, right? And I just said out loud, I was like, "What the hell is this?" And this guy next to me, random bloke, just burst out laughing and was like, "It's Iron Man." I was like, "What the fuck is an Iron Man?" You know? And,
I thought he was a fucking superhero.
yeah, yeah, and he exactly, exactly. And he turned around and was like, told me the distances. And I just looked at these people in front of me, and I looked at him, and I was like, "They're doing that." And he laughed, and he said, "Yeah, mate." And I was just in awe of these two people. So I spent the rest of the day like cheering on these two people, right? And I seen them come across the finish line, congratulated both of them, went up to this old lady, and I was like, "How old are you? Like, do you mind me asking? Like, how old are you?" And she
Yeah.
was 74.
Fucking
And I
hell.
was like, just like absolutely blown away. I was like, fuck. Like, cause this guy, like, he was like this, like, just giant bear of a man. He wasn't like, he was as wide as he was tall, like, you know. He was just a giant, like, unit. And I was just so impressed by, like, because as much as we don't mean to judge, we do,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
If you look at
And
someone who's, like you said, taller than you at
yeah, yeah,
65,
you know,
built like a bear, you're not going to go, well, that guy's definitely going to do a marathon
yeah, you're not going to
followed
think
by,
like endurance events. You're going to think
yeah.
rugby player. You're going to think all these things, you know.
Oh, definitely.
And there he was, you know. And the sport itself wasn't really known back then. And it was this kind of like little kind of cult thing, if you did, that kind of like this underground thing. And I was fascinated. So I was like, this is going to be the thing that like tests me, and
Yeah.
I can use to prove it, you know. Now fast forward it some years, I was piss poor at the time, and didn't have the money. I had a child. I was back in kind of education. I had my partner to look after. We were kind of like half on benefits, half on working, and doing triathlon. If you don't know, is it costs mega money.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Uh,
It's one of those sports, isn't it? Definitely.
yeah, it's just one of those things. So it took ages to actually do my first triathlon, you know. And at that point, I hadn't even done like a half marathon. I hadn't even done a 10K run, you know. I was just doing a bit of gym work, a bit of swimming,
Yeah.
nothing really competitive. Typical kind of gym PT, you know, it do some weights, was fit in a gym context, but wasn't fit really outside of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I hadn't really kind of pushed myself mentally, um, and so on. And I just, even now, I still feel the same thing, that I just feel that there's more there, like there's more to give,
Yeah,
there's
an
more to,
untapped source. Like
yeah, yeah, you know,
you feel
and
that you're at the stage where you can probably push your body a little
yeah,
bit further than you have been.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
hundred
yeah,
percent. And it's those things that like even over years of doing it, you kind of find it a little bit more. It's kind of like that scraping the barrel, if you will, to try and get more out, and just realizing that it's just a journey. There is no, like, I think the world is pre-programmed to get in this like stairways of success, and because it
yeah,
likes a hierarchy that people are then better and above these people, whereas I think that's kind of a load of nonsense, and much prefer this pathway that we're all the same. It's just I've decided to go this
yeah,
way
yeah.
and
I
create
like
a
that.
path
I like that.
than anything else. And if I then happen to get to a point that I don't really like anymore, I can just turn sideways and
Yeah,
change. You know,
your journey through life can take various routes, and
yeah, 100%.
and
You know,
as I'm sure you're aware, like you said, you suffered a bit with childhood trauma, and from your bio, a bit of bullying and whatnot. That just shows that your journey through life isn't always a fucking straight line either.
yeah, exactly,
And it's not always low, and it's not always peak highs either. Um,
exactly.
but you have to enjoy the journey as you're going through it,
Yeah,
as best you can. I know that's easy to say when you've got people suffering with different mental health issues and whatnot,
Yeah,
they're probably
definitely.
thinking, well, you fucking enjoy it when you feel like shit every day. But those days don't last. Um,
Yeah,
if you want to get out of them, you'll get out of them.
100%. For me, I found that like so at the age of 18, I was in a real dark place
Mm.
and didn't want to kind of be around anymore. Kind of had enough. Wasn't really told that I would amount to anything. Was kind of put down a lot with education, being dyslexic,
Yeah,
having ADHD was
I
the
know the feeling with
litter, if you will.
dyslexia. Definitely, I
Yeah,
I was late diagnosed. I wasn't diagnosed as dyslexia until I got to college,
yeah,
and like all through uh, primary school, secondary school, everyone just thought I was fucking thick or lazy. And
yeah,
it's like, no, I'm just fucking reading words differently to everyone else, or
yeah.
I'm missing words out.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was diagnosed as at 8 years old, but I was the first person in a multicultural primary school.
Mm,
So was blended in with people that were struggling speaking English anyway. And it was like, oh, you're different, you know. And at that point, all I wanted to be was the same. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't like
it's.
being different. I don't want to be
I
treated
get what you're
different,
saying. Like
you
it's
know.
at that age, everybody wants to fit in and be with like
Yeah,
the popular kids. I say it to my eldest daughter all the time. My youngest isn't quite at that sort of stage at the minute. My eldest is year 7 now at secondary school, and
yeah,
that's when I've noticed that they start splitting into their different groups. And
yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
"Oh, so and so and so and so isn't talking to me anymore." I'm like, "Well, fuck them then." And
Yeah,
that is literally
exactly,
my
exactly.
language because I don't really have a
Yeah,
filter. And she's like,
yeah,
"Dad, but they're my friends." I'm like, "Well, they're clearly not. If they're gonna
yeah,
ditch you straight away to be with the popular kids,
yeah,
when
exactly.
you've continued to be the same person from preschool
Yeah,
up until secondary school, you're very likable, you get on with everyone, and you get on with all your schoolwork. Be that person." I went,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
nobody gives a fuck about the popular kids when you graduate secondary school or college or even university. Nobody gives a fuck about them because they're going to do fuck all. They're going to get pregnant at 12 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly,
I went,
exactly. And that's the funny
do what
thing.
you
You
do.
you
I went,
actually
do you think
find out.
people like J.K. Rowling were probably fucking super popular at school? No, she's probably in her own head thinking about
Yeah,
fucking writing Harry Potter or whatever.
yeah,
And she's like, oh, okay. I went, you've got good friends that want to be your friend. I went, if they're going to treat you like a knob, get rid of them.
100%.
Basically, that's my
Yeah,
advice.
100% though. But
Parenting
how true
101
is
from
that? Like, you
Tommo.
know, like you think that like as time has evolved, who are you hanging out with now compared to who you used to think that you were friends or kind of
Yeah,
like that group? And I know from what I see in your profile, like that you've got a military background and so on. So that background, certainly for me, from an outsider's perspective, you develop greater bonds, if you will. And
yeah, you can say that. Two of my very best mates literally ran a corner from me now.
yeah,
I served with them. There's a few that have fallen by the wayside, but yeah, I've got a handful of what I would call brothers. But
yeah,
yeah, you do create bonds. It's like I've said before on here, I think, and I sort of stole it from Tim Kennedy, who's you might not heard of Tim Kennedy.
yeah,
Um, you spend literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with these people. Sometimes in the worst conditions you could think of. Sometimes you just sat staring at fucking nothing, and you've got
yeah,
nothing to talk about. You know each other's habits. You know how they fucking take a piss. You know their fucking wanking schedule. You know fucking
yeah,
all their darkest secrets. You know everything, and
yeah,
you know some of your mates that you really get the bond with, you probably know them better inside and out than their own spouse or girlfriend or even their
yeah, yeah,
parents.
yeah,
And it is a good bond that you create, definitely,
yeah.
100%.
think
Well,
for me,
you'd lay your life down for him, put it that way.
yeah, and I think it's that kind of true acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah,
In that person knowing that yes, they're human, they have faults, and so on, and it's kind of understanding that you too have your faults and so on and so forth, but
definitely.
there's that common bond that you have between each other, like and I think in reality, I think all of us are in pursuit of that. I certainly am, and I think
It's
it's something that
yeah, it's like people like Rogan have said constantly. You want to find yourself a group of people that are that group of like-minded people.
yeah,
You find that group, whether you're a civilian, police officer, blue light service, veteran, serviceman. You find a group of people that are very similar to you. You have the same sort of mindset, the same sort of outputs, the same sort of likes, dislikes.
yeah,
Nothing will stop you then. And as much as I used to take the piss out of like CrossFit gyms and things like that, but
yeah.
they're the type of people because they've got that gym. Yeah, that's all they talk about. But
Yeah.
they've put big
100%. But
friendships.
it's those things that like you like what made that popular was the community.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
had nothing to do with the product itself. If you build a community, you can build an empire. And
Yeah,
it's those things that regardless of whatever it is, like you look at Rock to Recovery, they are who they are because of their community. And yes, they have a purpose and a message, um, but in doing so, bringing people together, it helps that community, and then all you're doing is welcoming more people into the fold.
oh,
you
definitely.
know and I think especially when you suffer with mental health and so on, and you're feeling isolated, that's exactly what you need. That is medicine. And
Definitely.
I think if you can find the right tribe, and find that acceptance, you can in turn find a sense of belonging and a sense of happiness.
Yeah, yeah. And it even goes back to our fucking makeup, our DNA. We are designed to be in small tribes.
Yeah,
Um, and I say small tribes. We're designed hereditary. I've done it again. Fucking making up words again. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to go there because my mind's gone. Um, but we're not designed to be led by one person. This is going all
yeah,
political now. To like the prime minister. We're,
yeah.
we're supposed to be in small tribes that that talk to each other and deal with our problems that way. Not have one guy go, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to fix the climate crisis." You're not, mate. You're not doing anything.
And
You're just
that's the thing, and that's why we
making
end
the
up
rich
branching
richer.
off, don't we? You know. So
Yeah.
what got you into the stuff you do with Rock to Recovery?
Well, basically, I was let down by some of the big charities when I first found my issues after going to therapy and whatnot. I thought I really need to get some help. This is just as I first started the podcast as an outlet. I thought, no, I need a little bit extra. Um, so I went to a couple of the bigger charities. I won't name them, but I'll kind of name them. So one of them is spoke about a lot through November. The other one, well, I was in the Air Force, so I'll let people make that one up. And basically, they said that they were going to send me a key worker to come and sit down with me, discuss my problems, what they can do to aid or potentially aid if they can, etc., etc. All the nice stuff that you want to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
That was in 2018, 18 or 19, 2019, I think. Yeah, so I'm still waiting for this person to turn up. Um, but through talking through basically the different veteran sort of connections, I've seen the work that they do
Yeah.
and what they have built, and like you said, the community, and how quick they are at helping those that are in crisis mode as well.
Yeah.
And basically, I wanted to support them and give back to them. They haven't dealt with me direct, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna, not support something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so the first thing I did was I spoke with Charlie, um, and said, "Look, I want to put on an event that you haven't had done yet. I want to do something that hasn't been done in rock to recovery," which was a bit of a kick in the teeth at one point because I set up all this stuff for the football match when we played Spurs. It was all set up, all sorted, and they went, "Oh, we've never had a team event like this. We've never had like a team sport like this." Mine was, I think it was the 11th of July, I think, off the top of my head. And then literally within a few weeks, they started the rugby, uh,
Yeah,
basically the rugby version, and I was like, "Motherfuckers!"
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm still the
Let's
first
see it.
football.
You
I'm still the
you
first in football.
inspired it. That's what a good thing. Obviously, you inspired it.
Yeah, but all the support, all the help that they get throughout. You've got the 12 challenge that's going on at the moment. At the
Yeah,
moment,
yeah,
you've got yours coming up. They've fucking constantly walking up mountains. You got
yeah, yeah,
Charlie and Mark Ormrod doing the walk home.
yeah,
My football match against Sands United. They've got so many different things, but it's not just about the events. It's not just about the fundraising. It's everything else that goes with it. So,
yeah,
like yourself, you're doing your event, but now you've now connected with me, who's also doing another event. So we're sort of connected. We're
yeah,
chatting,
yeah.
and that's a good bit of community team spirit. I've got a few others coming on that are doing a couple of other different challenges,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
it just seems to be like a rock to recovery sort of spirit going on. It's good. I like it.
Yeah,
Makes
definitely.
me
It's
happy. Makes
nice.
me happy to give back. I'm sure that you're the same.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. For me, it's like in in the nicest way. I was for my own development and my own selfish reasons. I was doing this challenge anyway. So for me, it was like, well, I don't want to just do it just for me when I have the potential to then
Yeah, I
potentially
get
help.
that. I get that.
So I like each year I try to I want to make a difference,
Mm.
and for me, because I had the childhood that I had, and I had the younger kind of my whole teenage years and all the rest of it, when I felt that I didn't matter, I want to make a difference now.
Mm.
And I've always had that in me where naturally we all want to matter. So for me, it's like if I can do something that impacts another human being in a positive way, then I want to do that. It's like when I first started working in a gym, I said
Yeah,
to the guy,
I was gonna
team,
say you must get a lot of sort of pride and privilege, pride and respect from what you're doing as a
yeah,
coach as well. Seeing
yeah,
others grow and reach goals and whatnot.
yeah, 100%. For me, that's everything. That's why I do what I do, and I absolutely think it's an incredible privilege and an honor to be invited along to someone's journey. Because the way I've always seen it is like if I see you an hour a day or maybe once a week, and especially nowadays times are hard for people, you might be doing an extra shift in order to pay me for my time, and for me, I think of those things, so within that time frame that I see you, i I might not know what's going on in your head, I might not know what's going on in your life,
Yeah, yeah,
but if I'm doing my job right, I'm going to then create that environment that you're going to feel comfortable enough to open up about those things. So for me,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
much more than just like, okay, I want to get fit. Cool. What else? Because there's more in there. Like
Oh,
that
definitely.
is so generalized that like like I want to get people to their finish line, if you will, whatever that may be. But I also want to, if it's all said and done and that's our kind of contract finished, I then want to be able to then turn around and say, yeah, we're good friends. You know, it's like
I like
one
that.
of my clients that I helped years ago. Um, I ended up going to his wedding years later, and we meet up all the time. We go for walks and coffees, and we went like rock climbing the other month. Um, and it's those things that like I would rather have a ton of friends than a ton of clients, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And if that means I'm working with less and less people and making potentially less and less money, then I'd rather do that and have the impact on those people much higher than be one of these coaches that has a high turnover and a
yeah.
low impact.
See, the way I sort of describe it is that you are a coach where others are trainers. I think there's a
Yeah,
difference between a trainer and a coach.
yeah,
That
massively.
this is just my sort of theory behind it. Because
Yeah,
if you take a football coach, for example, you can even go to American football. If you
yeah,
look at a lot of background with American football coaches, and if you take movies, for example, they tend to have them from young teenagers up until they leave
yeah,
high school or whatever. And you tend to find that the coach tends to then become like a father figure.
yeah, 100%.
And that's how I see coaching and training. You can be the
Yeah,
trainer
yeah,
where they come in and you train them and that's it.
yeah,
Or you can coach them. And being a coach is not just physical performance, physical fitness, it's the mental aspect. It's
yeah, definitely.
how you train to become better as a person, as an athlete, or how you can adapt to whatever scenario situation that could come your way. Because you can, especially in terms of sport, you know, it gives you so many life lessons. And I'm sure even individual sports like doing an Ironman, that gives you fucking life lessons because you fucking
Yeah,
hanging.
yeah,
You are hanging. You're going through
yeah,
stages where you're like, I can't be fucked with this shit.
yeah, massively.
Swimming
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah. But it's those things like people. It's really funny, like because I do a lot of open water swimming, and like people don't realize when like they can. For some people, they're learning to swim. You know, they're starting out their journey, and it's kind of day one, if you will. For others, especially the good swimmers, you know, they come with a level of confidence and sometimes a level of ego and arrogance,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
I
then
would
they
have that.
go, I can swim, you know. And then as soon as they get in the sea, and all of a sudden they don't realize how much mental
Oh yeah, definitely.
kind of capacity you need when you're in the sea. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know like that you're now working with this kind of living, breathing entity, if you will,
Yeah, yeah.
that
It takes no
has the
prisoners.
potential to kill you. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
if you mess it up. And I think there's a level of arrogance with human beings that because on land we are head poncho, you know, when we go in the sea we kind of act like we are,
We
when in
try, yeah.
reality
Yeah.
we're just
Hey,
guests.
we don't know anything about the sea really.
No, not at
Like I said
all.
in our last episode, there's fucking octopus in there and they're aliens. They're aliens. Um,
Yeah,
and fucking hell, you hit the nail on the head. I'm a very confident swimmer. Well, I was. I haven't swam for a long time now, really, but I was a very good swimmer. And it is a completely different animal when you get in the sea,
yeah, yeah,
especially fucking you got currents, you got fucking
yeah,
waves, you got everything, and
absolutely.
it is a fucking killer, like you said. And the one fucking great example of this, in terms of people watch movies and that, The Guardian. I don't know if you've seen that. It's about rescue swimmers
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
Alaska,
brilliant film.
and he calls him up for being the best because he's a swimming champion, and he's like, What happens if you're not in the right temperature water? What happens if your nose plug doesn't work? What happens if you get hit by a wave, or you're drowning and you get hit in the head? And the bloke's like, fucking, I don't know. It's like,
Exactly though, but like that film is absolutely amazing, and it shows how much it relies on mental capacity,
mm,
because even when Kevin Costner loses out because he's lost his friend, he can't perform at that level anymore,
yeah,
and as much as he has the physical capabilities, and okay, he's getting old in the movie and it's showcasing that, it's
but
still very much
his
like,
head's not there.
yeah, his head's not there. And if his head's not there in that arena, it's not just your life, but it's other people's lives at the same time.
100%, 100%. But you're going through something ridiculous. So you're doing 7. Is that right?
Yeah,
Did I get that right?
yeah.
7.
So I'm doing literally all of the UK and Irish Ironman events. Something that
How often are
hasn't
they then?
been done yet. How often?
Yeah.
So
Like, how much break is what I'm trying to get at between each one?
so literally, the first one is this Sunday up in Staffordshire. Um, so that's a 70.3 Ironman event, which basically equates for a half Ironman. So exactly what you think it is, the half the distance. So it's a 1.2 mile swim. It's a 56-mile bike ride followed by a half marathon. You've got cut-offs for the swim, bike, and the run, and then a total cut-off in total, which if obviously you're not pulling your weight and making the times, then naturally your race ends. Um, 3 weeks later, I've got a full Ironman in so Ironman UK in Bolton. That's a full distance, so it's 140.6 miles. Um, and that is one of 3 full distances that I'll be doing. 3 weeks after that, I'm over in Swansea in Wales, doing another
Shitty,
half.
shitty city.
Yeah, so doing that and cycling all around the Gower. So that bike course is relatively new. It's only the second year that they've been doing this event, but the bike course is where the money is, if you will. That's got a pretty tasty elevation on it. So if you double that course, it would be a greater elevation than the Irish one in Cork, the Welsh one in Tenby, and the UK Bolton one. So it's a pretty decent course, but it's one of those courses that, because it's in the Gower, it's half of it's like at the top of the mountains where it's very open, very clear, and then half of it's at the bottom climbing hills.
Lovely.
So on a boiling hot day, you're very open and exposed. But if it's windy, rainy, and a bit shitty, then you're just going to get hammered as well. So
Described Wales there, didn't you?
yeah. So that's pretty much Wales all over. And then 4 weeks after Swansea, in August the 19th and the 20th, I'm going over to Ireland, Cork, for the first time. Never been there before, so looking forward to that. But I'm doing the Irish 70.3 on the Saturday, and then the full Ironman on the Sunday,
Oh,
which is going to be a tasty one.
yeah.
Yeah, so I've never really done anything like that before, so I'm interested to see how
Yeah,
it is,
how
how
your
it
body
goes.
fucking reacts to that one.
Yeah. And it's just tapping into that kind of that pain cave a little,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That's
and
going to be
asking
tapping
yourself,
into a lot of
like,
things.
why?
That is. That's
Yeah.
how do you pace yourself for the first one to then go into the second one, because you
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to go balls deep and go all
yeah.
out, and
And
then
then
get
just
to the
die in the water.
full and go, oh fuck.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. Yeah. And then literally 2 weeks after, it's probably going to be the harder one, because the recovery off an Ironman is pretty extensive. But 2 weeks after, I've got Ironman Wales, which is another hard course. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm finishing it up in Weymouth, which is a half Ironman. So yeah.
I hope you're fucking prepared, like. I hope you're not fucking
Yeah.
cuffing
People,
this.
People keep telling me I got to train. I don't know what to train for.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it just because one, I feel incredibly lucky and grateful to have this opportunity. You know, I like having. So my partner is just kind of qualified as a midwife 8 months ago,
Oh, nice.
um,
Congratulations.
and she we've never had a kind of a second income, if you
Yeah.
will. So it's kind of literally changed our lives. We've been able to buy our first house.
Well done.
We've been able to kind of get like a better car, you know, and like for me, being able to kind of do like a once in a lifetime kind of thing like this.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So
awesome.
it was one of these things that everyone seems to be on social media thinking I'm some super rich guy. Um, and
Yeah.
I totally get it because obviously it costs a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
But in turn, it means the like my accommodation. I don't have any, you know. So my accommodation initially was in these hotels. Then it kind of fell through. Um, People getting greedy, people increasing prices, and so on and so forth. Like, for example, the accommodation over in Ireland, that was put up to £2,000. Well, I haven't got £2,000 to pay.
Motherfuckers.
So I've been really lucky that I've had some clients. Basically, one of my clients has got a camper van, so
Oh, nice.
Staffordshire this weekend. He's coming with me. I'm going to stay in his camper. We're going to find some place to camp,
Yeah.
and it's the same with Ireland. We're getting the ferry over there.
Spot on.
And
Spot on.
just gonna rock up in some place, you know, and sleep in his sleep in his camper. You know, my
Sometimes
mate.
you've got to cuff things. Sometimes you've got to cuff it. You don't want it. You don't want it too easy, do you? You want it.
Exactly, and that's what I keep saying. Like, I
Seven
keep
Ironmans
having,
is good. It sounds flat. Well, you know,
yeah,
just wake
you
up and do
know,
that, but you've got to sleep a little bit rough
exactly,
as well.
sleeping in a camper.
Fuck, fuck the recovery element. I'm just gonna fucking
Exactly, you know.
sleep on the floor in a tent or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so for me, I like everyone's asking, "Oh, am I super stressed about it?" But and to be honest, I see it as an adventure. You
Yeah,
know, I think,
you're gonna make
um,
memories.
yeah, and for me, like going from like a place where you're kind of mentally ready to just kind of end it and just kill yourself, you know, to a place where now I just want to kind of wring life's kind of rag out and just kind of get every little last drop out of it. You know, for me, it's like I want more and more out of life. I want to be able to be this old man that is inspiring my grandkids or great grandkids. Um, that when I pass, I leave such a legacy to my family that they can hear me when I'm not there. You know,
Yeah,
I've
I get that.
had this like ever since becoming a father, it's like the level of impact I want to have on my kids, and the same when the people I coach and so on. It's kind of almost like, can you hear my voice when I'm not around you? You know, am I influencing your decision making in a positive way?
Yeah.
So when you're in a bad situation and your friends are doing something dodgy, should you be there?
Just
Like,
just before you continue this, it's about to cut out. Hello, you're at the adverts, so don't turn off. Don't turn off because I've got some good stuff for you. First up, I'm going to talk about our sponsors. Kent CBD is our first sponsor. Now, CBD oil, as you know, has tremendous benefits, especially within mental health and physical health. Personally, I use it to help with my anxiety and my depression, but not only that, I also use it to help with the aches and pains of life in my joints, especially my ankles and my knees. But yeah, without CBD oil, I would have still been on my antidepressant tablets, which I'm no longer on. So, you know, every cloud. And what we're going to do here at Granite Zero is we're going to give you 10% off everything from oil, muscle rub, jellies, bath salts, the lot. Yeah? make sure you get in there. www.kentcbd.org. Put in the promo code GRANITE0 and get yourself 10% off. You are welcome. But also, if you're like me and you love a nice cup of coffee, now, for me, I only drink one coffee, and that's Green Beret coffee. Now, I don't only drink it because it's out of this world fucking coffee, roast to order, grinded to whatever specific grind you want. But not only that, it's veteran owned and veteran run, which, you know, hits me right in the feels. So make sure you check it out, Green Beret coffee. Get yourself a nice cup of coffee. I drink it dark, just like my soul. Incredible stuff, incredible stuff. And what I'm going to give for you, I'm going to give you 10% off. So once you get to the checkout, once you've got all your coffee, your products, your apparel, whatever you need, get to the checkout and put in the promo code GZPodcast10 and get yourself 10% off. Courtesy of the Granite Zero podcast. You are welcome. Now that's enough of me talking about this stuff. Back to the regular scheduled show. Check it out! And we're back after that ad break. But no, you're to sort of carry on. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying by leaving stuff behind for people to latch onto or create some sort of digital imprint, which is one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast. Is that if something, God forbid, happens to me, my daughters have got, well, now this will be 178 episodes of me chatting shit.
But it's going to be those things that like the characteristics, you know, about you, the charisma, you know, that like who you are is going to be embodied in your work, you know. And this is the beauty of such things as podcasts, as YouTube channels, as social media, and so on and so forth. If you showcase who you are, it's a brilliant thing, you know. It's like I used to went through that phase where I was kind of like I wanted to be like everybody else, you know. I wanted to find out where like that identity, like where you belong, and so on and so forth. And now what I've realized growing up and doing things like this is that I'm not like anybody else, you know. And in all honesty, all the things that I used to perceive as weaknesses are actually strengths, and the things that I went through allowed me to develop the tools and the mindset needed to be able to do what I do. And it's why I can thrive in the environments that I thrive in, you know, and coach people the way I am, like, you know, and the way I do. So it's like realizing that, in all honesty, when you're trying to find your people, it's only when you find yourself that you can then attract your crowd and your audience, you know. And it's, I think, especially with these sorts of things, the podcasts, YouTube channels, and so on and so forth, I think it's just reminding yourself that all you need to do is offer consistency and your audience will find you, you know.
Yeah, I like that. It must have been quite difficult for you, like obviously growing up, as you said, you know, because I still remember, I'm similar age to you, I'm 36, so I still remember when kids were sort of diagnosed or told that they had things like ADHD.
Yeah.
They're the fucking kids that are going to cause the problems in the classroom. They're gonna they're the wrong uns. You don't know about him. He's nuts. He's mental. He's for some reason he's in DT and he's set fire to his leg. You know, it's like they're disruptive. They're this, they're that, and it's when you grow up and you look into things like this. Like obviously, there's documentaries now about ADHD and what it can do and how actually it can be quite beneficial for the person when they understand
definitely
what is going on with themselves. You know, it's not it's not a problem. You just got to monitor it how you need to monitor it.
Yeah.
Like one
So
of the attributes, isn't it, for ADHD? I could be wrong. This could be bro science, but you do have, when you're passionate about something and you're really involved in it, you have like super laser focus, and that is,
yeah, yeah.
I am
So
doing that, and that is all I am doing.
yeah, so it's called hyperfocus, and um, it's basically that, like, so and don't get me wrong, it can be a bad thing at times, where all of a sudden you jump on your laptop and you spend, like, it's meant to be 5 minutes and then it's been 8 hours,
Mm.
and you forgot to pick up the kids,
Yeah,
and
that's not
things like
great.
that. So that can get you into a lot of shit, especially with the missus. Um, but it can also be a very beneficial thing in the sense of, like, for me, once I made the decision that I was like, right, me and my partner, she was pregnant. Um, we've been together 18 months at the time. Everyone kind of lost their shit, and was like, "What are you doing? You've been together 5 minutes." Um, what I was 20, going on 21. She's a year younger than me, so, like, her mum wasn't the happiest,
Mm.
at the time, and it was these things that naturally they're questioning whether I'm going to be a decent guy, if I'm going to stand by her, if I'm going to support her, raise this kid, and so on and so forth. And for me, I just had that conversation with myself, and I'd already kind of going through the process where, like, I'm asking myself, surely there must be more to life than this, and I'm kind of going through the back end of that. Like, my partner Tara, she's helping me trying to find myself and trying to talk about things instead of bottling up and then taking it out on myself,
Mm.
um, and kind of being this volcano of a person that is like, bottling it up, and then erupting, and then having this kind of like very self-destructive kind of personality, if you will. And she's then starting to invest in me, and naturally, I did what I always used to do, was like naturally push her away,
Mm.
because I was like, well, you're just going to leave like everybody else did, so why don't you just bugger off now, like, and
Yeah.
so I can then prove my own beliefs
Mm.
that are right, when in reality that's not what I wanted at all, and for whatever reason she decided to stick by, and then we ended up finding out that we were having my oldest daughter Ruby, who's now 13. um, we I then just said to myself, and kind of sat myself down, if you will, and said, mate, you're not good enough right now. You need to be more. You need to
Mm.
be better. You need to prove everyone wrong. You need to be the person that your child and your partner deserves, and I went on this kind of relentless mission, if you will, and I've been on it ever since. Decided at the time, I was when I met Tara and we started getting close. I would, at that point in time, and this is where, like, the military side has always interested me, and it's because of, like you said, that bond, that brotherhood. Like, I've never felt I've had it,
Mm.
and for me, it's even now I crave it, because sometimes when you're doing things like this, people often want to try and understand, and they always think that you've just got this massive ego. When in reality, I don't feel like I have an ego at all. It's just I want to make a difference
Yeah.
and I want to help people, and a lot of it stems from my past. But people see what they want to see, unfortunately, and
Yeah. Totally
they
get that.
go, "Oh yeah, okay, he's doing this, big bollocks," like, and so on. And when in reality, it's because at that point in time when I was with my partner, we were deciding, like, kind of seeing how serious this was, and then found out she was pregnant. I'd been to the military kind of office and picked up all the books, and was trying to decide on where I was going. I also did the same with college, to go back to college because I'd already been. Um, and I was like working in bars, and I was like, yeah, I gotta be doing more than I'm doing, like, you know.
Yeah,
And it was the fact that found out Tara was pregnant, and we were having Ruby, that I was like, well, college it is, you know,
yeah,
because I wanted to be there, like, you know. Had things been different, then maybe my choices
yeah.
would have
I
been,
get that. I get that.
you know. But
It's I didn't realize this until I was on my way out of the military.
yeah,
It's definitely a single man's game. This is my opinion. Obviously,
100%.
there are others that have served a lot longer than I did,
Yeah,
that are happily married. So this is just my brain and how it worked. When my missus got pregnant with my eldest, I was out in Kandahar for 4.5, 5 months. Um,
yeah,
Came back, and then she popped her out, and it was fucking incredible. Everything was all good, and then within a couple of months, I already started pre-deployment. Um, um, just after her first birthday, I believe, that's when I deployed again out to Bastion, and that was a 7-month tour. Uh, I left, and she was a baby, and I came home, and she was a toddler.
yeah,
She didn't even know who Daddy was. It was heartbreaking.
yeah, yeah,
And I'd already made up my mind. I'd already put my clicks in to leave. But when I came back and I saw her, and she didn't really know who I was like, well, that's made my mind up, because
yeah,
literally within months of us getting back, they were getting ready to deploy again, or start pre-deployment again. And I was like, I definitely can't do it. The amount of
yeah,
times they were trying to ask me to stay, withdraw my papers, all that sort of stuff, I was like, nah, no, definitely not.
yeah, yeah.
Because
And
the
that's the
amount of
incredible
strain, the amount of
sacrifice.
strain that it put on my wife, because she was with me for all 3 tours that I did.
Yeah,
The amount of strain that she went under, she
yeah,
was a different person. We met when she was 18, so by the time she was 21, I'd already done 2 tours of duty, and
yeah, yeah,
you know that's a lot to take in. And you know, I did the third and final tour, and I was like, I definitely can't do it again. If I do another tour, if I stay in, then it's either the Air Force or my family, and there's
yeah,
only
yeah.
one winner. There's only one winner in
Oh,
my eyes.
100%.
You know, there's a
100%.
lot of serving members. There's a lot of lads that are top quality, lads that made the opposite decision, and
Yeah,
now no longer have their wife or whatever, and
yeah, yeah,
are a part-time dad. So
yeah,
it's you've got to make tough decisions. My dream was to join the Air Force from the age of about 4 years old. That's all I wanted to do.
yeah, yeah,
So in my eyes, I've completed life, as it were. So everything now is a bonus. So I got to
yeah,
do my dream
100%.
job. Uh, got married, had kids, own my own house. You know, been on holiday. Fucking hell. You know,
Yeah. Living the dream.
tick tick
Living the
tick tick
dream.
tick. I'm just ticking the boxes. So just like life is like a book, as well as a fucking journey. See, it's full of philosophy, me. And
Exactly.
each one is a different chapter, and
Yeah,
it's you know it, everybody writes their own book, whether they publish it or not. Like myself, mixed reviews. Um, it, everybody's life is different. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's mental health is different. And like you said, everybody tries to fit in. I feel, or
yeah, yeah,
majority will try and fit in and be what they think people want them to be. But
100%.
at the end of the day, you need to be true to yourself. If you're not true to yourself, then the cracks will form.
That's the thing, you
The
know. I
cracks will
don't.
form, and the
Yeah,
other issues will then form itself as well. Um, But you know, you've got it, like we've said from the start, you've got to find your tribe.
Yeah.
And the biggest sort of thing I wanna like just put across, and it's a thing that a lot of men go through. I've got to be stoic. I've got to be strong. I've got to be the lone wolf. Fucking wolves aren't. They're not alone. They're in a
No.
pack. You got to find your pack. You got to not be alone. You got to be with a group, with a tribe, with a community, and you will see yourself turn into a completely new person that is more of yourself than you've ever seen before, I think.
100%. For me,
Fucking hell. Someone write that down. I didn't fuck up any words.
boom. Like for me, like I don't know about you, but for me, I found that through opening up and showing my vulnerability has ultimately become one of my super strengths.
Yeah.
And by sharing my stories, my experience. Yes, and it's kind of very similar to like the last scene in 8 Mile, where Eminem
Yeah.
gives them everything about him, and in a way takes the piss out of himself so much and so hard that no one else can say anything because
Yep.
it's already been said at such a good quality. And for me, I've kind of like got myself in a place where I'm so open about my experiences, about where I'm at in life, and so on, that it sets the stage for someone like yourself to then tell me about you. It sets the stage that then when I have a client in my gym, or I'm in the sea and someone's having a bit of a moment, or we're like on a run or a bike or you name it, wherever, someone can then have an honest moment and open up, because they know I'm not going to judge them
Mm.
because they know stuff about me.
That's a
And
that's a massive thing. And that's what scares a lot of people about opening up
yeah,
is, are they gonna fucking judge me for this?
yeah, 100%.
And I've always said, whoever if anyone messages me in the DMs and whatnot, I've had a few. There's no judgment on my part because I've done stupid stuff in my life. I've done
Yeah,
stuff that if I had it to do it all over again, I definitely wouldn't do it, and all that sort of stuff. Not saying that I regret anything, but I would have done stuff a lot differently, and not been a complete cunt in the beginning years of my life, from the ages of 20 and whatnot. So I have no right to judge anyone on anything that they've done. Is basically what I'm trying to say. And fucking who who is anyone to judge anyone on anything?
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
you can go from the top of the pile. Like, we as a collective, humans and whatnot, we judge people from what we see, and we've got people in power. We'll take the US president, who is fucking front and center for so many things, and this motherfucker, he can't even speak.
Yeah,
But he's there for a reason, because he was voted in. So we can't judge the bloke. We don't know the bloke. We just see what he gives out, and you can make your own mind up. And I laugh at him daily because he's fucking. But I can't judge him as a person because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't.
You
I
don't
don't.
know the other sides to him, like, and
Yeah.
that's the thing, and I think that's why, like, unfortunately, I say it like this: old-fashioned values are so important. The test of someone's character is everything, and I think as we move towards the social media nonsense and the circusry, I think these unfortunate old-fashioned values become more and more necessary. I think they become more and
Yeah.
more important.
We're losing a lot of the old fashioned values, and you know, even down to the core values that I used to serve under. Like,
Yeah,
at least three of them make sense to me now. Still,
yeah.
the S doesn't, which is service before self. That that can fuck off now because I'm not serving. But the others,
But in
it's,
some respects, you still are though,
yeah,
because throughout this podcast, you're doing it to serve others.
yeah, I get.
And in
You
doing
see,
so,
this is why you talk to other people because they can see things that you don't. But yeah, you got respect, integrity, service before self, and then excellence. You know,
yeah,
there's nothing else really. you know, all of those. You should respect others. You should always show
100%.
integrity and
Yeah,
be excellent in everything that you do.
yeah. And
If you live,
it's remembering that like you're looking for excellence and not perfection. You know,
yes,
like with excellence comes setbacks. You know, I'm a big believer in setbacks and not failure.
yep,
You know, because setbacks have a comma behind it. I like to feel instead of a full stop. You know, it's a momentary pause as you collect your thoughts, your feelings, what's going on. You learn, adapt, and then grow and move forward. Whereas, like I think we obsess about failure and thinking that, oh no, you failed, you can't do that again. You know, when
yeah,
the moment you embrace that learning curve, because you think about it, like from a child perspective, you didn't just get up and walk. You know, you
yeah. You
bum
fell
shuffle.
over a few
You
times.
know, you fell over a shitload of times. Like, you know, you started furniture walking. You were holding your mum and dad's hands or whoever's, you know, and then you started standing still, then falling, and then next thing you know, like you are the age you are, and you're walking, talking, and still falling. You know,
Yeah, I fall
so,
regularly.
yeah, yeah, especially after our whiskey.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
But yeah,
but
I totally agree. I don't see. I've always been a firm believer in you don't lose, you learn.
yeah,
You've got to take the learning phase of anything, and like you said, there's no failure because you haven't failed. You've you've come short maybe,
yeah,
and you got to make those next bit of adjustments the next time you do it if you do it again.
yeah,
And I saw a video clip the other day, and it was as I don't know why I was watching it because obviously I'm a United fan, not a Liverpool fan. But it was Jurgen Klopp speaking to a group of girls about giving up, and
yeah,
teenage girls are more likely to give up than TJ boys when it comes to sport and things like that. And I say it to my daughters pretty much every week when they've got some sort of activity on. You've got my daughter wants to give up dance for whatever bizarre reason that she decides this week.
yeah,
My other daughter every so often will go, I don't really want to go to football training tonight, or I want to give up gymnastics
yeah,
and things like that. And I'm like, do you want to give up, or do you just not want to go tonight? Because at the minute we're paying a lot of money
yeah,
for
yeah,
you to do these sports because you asked to do them, and it is going to be tough at times, and your coaches will single you out at times because they want you to get better. They're not doing it to make you feel like a plonker in front of
yeah,
the
yeah,
class. They're trying to get you to go better. And you know, you can't just give up. Once
yeah.
you give up once and you've got that then in your head, I've given
Yeah,
up.
100%. 100%. And I also like to remind my kids when they're like that as well, because I think everyone's like that and so on. That it's the commitment to others as well.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like you committed yourself to that team and in doing so you're
Especially team events, definitely.
yeah, you know, and I totally get it, you know, especially in the winter with football and stuff, you know, it sucks going to training at times when it's freezing cold, it's pissing
Yeah.
down, and you've got to go out there on an astroturf and or field and
I
do the
say
training and so on and so
I
forth.
generally say it all the time to my youngest. She plays football, and
Yeah,
without any push from me, she wanted to play football, which
yeah, yeah,
it was as a dad that didn't have boys. I was like, I'm never going to get to coach
Yeah.
or I'm not going to give anyone any pointers on how to play
Yeah.
or anything like that. And every now and then, when like you said, when it's cold, it's wet, it's raining, which is the best time to play football in my opinion.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to do it, and I'm like, you have no idea how much I would I would give to go back in time to when I was
Yeah.
your age, just getting into football, or when I was a bit older, playing a bit more competitively.
Yeah.
How much I would love to do that. At the time when I was doing it, I was exactly the same as you.
Yeah. 100%.
I don't want to go football training tonight, Dad, because it's cold outside. I'd rather
Yeah.
play fucking Football Manager.
Yeah.
But you know what I'd give now to just and in my head, like, how much better could I have been if I'd have put a bit more effort in training, or if I know what I know now in terms of how to train, how to recover, what to eat, what not to eat, when to
Yeah.
hydrate more, etc., etc., etc. And I was a fairly decent sportsman. I played national league level basketball, which is incredible when you're 5'6".
Yeah.
Um, I
100%.
was I was county level sort of rugby. I could have played county football, but my school didn't actually have a football team, so I never
Yeah.
pursued it. I just played on a weekend. But and one thing I always have said to my dad, and I've said to my kids and things like that, if I'd focused on just one sport, I probably could have gone a bit further. But
Yeah.
because I don't know, you may be the same. Because I loved playing just fucking anything.
Yeah.
I was more of a jack of all trades and a master of none. Where I was a far better basketball player than I was a football player. I was a better
Yeah.
basketball player than I was a rugby player. I was a better rugby player than I was a football player. But
Yeah.
there was always one love, and that was football. So I would always, if I was out basketball training with my best mate Chris, if his brother came out with a football and went, "Fancy a kickabout?" I'd go, "Yeah, I'll play football."
Yeah.
Instead
And
of
that's
being
the key
more
thing, like,
focused and what have you to hone a craft a bit better. I was just
Yeah.
happy playing all sports,
Yeah.
and
And that's where the difference is between the discipline, like, and also the mental state, isn't it? Like,
mm,
do you follow something you love, or do you follow something you're good at?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and like quite often those things, isn't it? Like why you don't reach that next level,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Um,
definitely, definitely.
yeah,
It even goes down to when I was serving as well, and I boxed a little bit. I missed out on representing the Air Force in the proper Wakefield tournament due to family issue, um, which I don't really want to talk about. But I missed out on that. I'm a fairly decent boxer. Wouldn't say I was great, but I missed out on that. But all the other sports that I enjoyed and was good at, football, rugby, I did sort of station level, um, and squadron level sort of rugby. But when it came to anything else, we literally didn't have the time to do it. Like if I was still serving now, they're all fucking tracksuit soldiers.
yeah,
They're all cracking on. Like my old man used to tell me so many stories. My old man was a PTI and then a jump instructor. So his
yeah,
job was literally like my dream job when I was growing up was I want to do that. Play sport all day, sign me up. And yeah, he travelled the world playing football, he travelled the world playing doing fucking athletics.
yeah,
Madness.
yeah.
Fucking
Crazy, isn't it?
but the thing is, and you're probably we mentioned it earlier actually, you know, the life lessons you learn from playing sport,
Hmm.
you don't get that in much in other aspects of life. Of course you
No.
do to some extent, but
But like,
highs of winning to the lows of losing,
yeah, and
especially in individual sports, like
yeah,
boxing. Boxing, I lost my first amateur bout in boxing, and I've never been so embarrassed, sort of ashamed, and just completely deflated and defeated.
Yeah.
And as much as we say you didn't lose, it's it's the learning bit. When you first lose in front of
Yeah,
400
yeah.
people,
You got to
and
grieve it.
oh,
It's
I
almost
literally
like
phoned
kind
my
of
missus. I phoned my
losing it.
missus and I said, I lost. Everything's all right. I'll see you when I get home. And
Yeah,
then my brother sent me a text. How did he get on? I phoned him up. I cried like a fucking baby. He was
yeah.
like, what are you crying
This
for?
is the thing. So I literally had this conversation earlier with two people, right? In order to achieve a dream that is so big in your eyes that you have to make it in your head that there is no room for failure, you
Yeah,
know? So if you're going up for like, I don't know, a certain unit or just like making the boxing team or whatever, you have to have it in your head that there is no chance that you can lose this. And then, God forbid, you don't make the cut or you do
yeah,
lose the fight, for example, you have to go through this grieving process. And no one really talks about this, but it is this kind of death, if you will, that you're saying, well, you have to overcome the thought and the idea that it's going to look the way you pictured it in your mind's eye when you were building this dream up,
yeah,
you know. And it's that process that once you then start retracking and going, okay, well, that's fine, it's not over yet. It's that makes great champions and great people, you know. And it's that builds true character, because it's that moment there. If you choose to stay in the fight and get back in,
yeah,
well, you've already won, you
yeah,
know.
definitely. And
And it's that has the biggest drop off.
100%. And it's how you, like you said, it's how you deal with that setback.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll have a moment where you're like, oh, fucking hell, this is bullshit. Hate it.
yeah,
But like you said, the elite of the elite in terms of sporting achievements, unless they're like fucking ridiculous. But even Floyd Mayweather lost in amateur boxing.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
But even up to Floyd Mayweather, he's lost in amateurs. So did Joe Calzaghe. They still have to go through some sort of adversity. And I have an ongoing relationship with a former UFC fighter, Cage Warriors double champion, Mason Jones. And when we first started talking, he was undefeated. He then won 2 championships. Going on to the next couple of episodes, he loses his first fight in the UFC.
Yeah,
Bit of a downer. He was like, "Oh fucking hell," but he got back on the horse, and so on and so forth. And then his last loss that he had, he was in a very, very dark place, and he was questioning himself why he was doing what he was doing. Should he carry on? And
yeah,
he's picked himself up. He's doing well. He's fit and healthy and whatnot. But it's a fucking lonely place.
yeah, yeah. Of course. It's like any form of depression, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, at that point in time, you almost become unresponsive because of the, in a lot of respects, the bullshit that you tell yourself. You
mm,
know, you tell yourself that, like, I don't want to talk about it because it's too painful right now. When in reality, you need to let open the bottle and let it
yeah.
out.
You gotta let some out. You gotta
You
let some.
know, and it's then talking about that, and then it's also understanding that a lot of the pressures that you perceive that potentially other people put on you are quite often perceptions. They're not actually the reality of it, you know. So it's understanding that, like, you have, more often than not always, but more often than not, a team of people around you that also dreamed with you,
Yep.
that also were there and part of that dream, you know, and also part of that failure, you know. And it's then picking yourself up, and sometimes it's picking yourself up not for you but for your team, you know, especially as you build up to more elite level. You watch like the Conor McGregor documentary on Netflix that
Yeah,
came,
very good insight.
and yeah, it's exactly like that because he's like, I'm really happy that of the work that I did with my team. And towards the end of the documentary, it's much more team focused and that service through others, as opposed to at the start I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah,
And that could arguably be the reason why he then started losing fights, whereas before he was doing it for his family
yeah,
and service for his family,
yeah.
and we're
I get it.
far hungrier as individuals when we're doing it for others,
Yeah. You
which
feeling the
is,
pressure?
for me, to be honest, I tend to do better with it. For me, it kind of,
Better with a bit of pressure.
yeah, yeah, for me, I kind of almost, what I've learned about myself is, and what I also find really fascinating, I want to explore more of about myself is if, for example, me and you were doing this race together and I was racing with you, I would not fail because I would feel like I was failing you, and
Yeah,
I would never let that happen,
I
like
get that.
ever. Um, what I don't know about myself at the moment, I do to some degree, but to the levels that I want to test it at, um, I don't know if I would make that choice for myself.
Mm. Yeah,
You
I get
know,
that. I get that. Yeah, I totally understand the pressures of things. I eventually did a white collar boxing match,
yeah,
and I had a good number of supporters come to watch and whatnot, and I was asked pretty much either the day before or the day of the actual event, are you nervous? Are you uh, are you feeling the pressure? And I was
yeah,
like, I literally was like, no, and they were like, why? And I was like, I'm not going to lose in front of my wife. Like
yeah,
that in my head, like you said, you set your goals and whatnot, and that was mine. I was not going to get beaten up in front of my wife. There's no way that that's
yeah,
happening. If she wasn't
100%.
there, could have been a different story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but there was no way I was taking a beating off this bloke
yeah,
in front of my wife, in front of my dad, in front of my brother.
yeah,
I did feel a bit of pressure because I didn't want to let people down that had paid
yeah,
money to come and watch me. But in terms of my confidence, I was like, nah, I'm not losing. Um, but
100%.
yeah, there was a bit of pressure, and the pressure is also now started to build on this event. If we go back to the events, are people going to come and buy tickets? Check out my page. There's a link to it.
Yeah,
Are they going to come and watch?
yeah,
That the big selling point for the game for the fundraising is all the ticket sales go to Rock to Recovery and Sans. So last time we sold, I think it was about 350 tickets, maybe a bit more. Will I
yeah,
get
yeah,
the same because we haven't got a Legends football team that we're playing against? It's another charity. Will we get the same? Then is anyone going to turn up? Are people going to buy tickets late?
yeah,
And it sort of takes away from the actual football match itself. It's I've got to get some
100%.
more raffle prizes, but and it's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress that I put on
Yeah,
myself,
yeah,
and it's
definitely.
and it's sort of self inflicted, and it's like
Yeah.
chill
So,
out, chill out a
yeah,
little
so
bit.
for me, where I put the pressure on is not whether I can complete the events or not. Unless I have some sort of mechanical issue, I know I'll be able to do
Yeah,
it all.
that's good.
Where the pressure is I don't want to let the charity down.
Yeah,
I don't want to let people like yourself who's like benefited from work that the charity's done. I don't want to let you guys down. Like for me, that's everything. For me, it's like what I found is it's harder because I'm not in that world or from that world.
yeah,
People
I get that.
naturally want to know like why why am I doing it for you guys? Like where do I gain from this? Like, is it like a social media thing? Is it something that I'm trying to like push a narrative or whatever, when in reality it comes back to like me just wanting to help, you know. And so where I put the pressure on is how much money I can raise.
Yeah, I think you're going to do well, and we're coming down to less than a minute on this podcast. So, where can people find you, and where can they donate?
So if you head over to my Instagram page at IamChris_Hill and click the link in my bio, you'll be able to donate, and as much as you fancy.
Brilliant, brilliant, Chris. This has been amazing, and I've loved every second of this chat. And we'll
Absolute
get you
pleasure.
back on when you've finished your events.
Definitely, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much. My honour, my privilege, my man.
You too.